Tech Sideline is presented by First Bank and Trust Company, the bank that puts you first. They can meet your banking and financing needs for personal, agricultural, business, commercial, mortgages, and so much more. Visit firstbank.com to learn more.
The Hokies earned their first victory of 2025 with a win over Wofford, and a large budget increase may be in store for Virginia Tech athletics. We're talking all that and more on episode 439 of the Tech Sideline podcast, which starts right now. We're recording on Monday, September 22nd from the Tech Solutions studio in the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center. If you're watching the show on YouTube, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with a friend. I'm your host, Riley Klaus, and today I'm joined to my left by lead analyst and columnist Chris Coleman. Across the way, our managing editor, David Cunningham, and to my right is senior staff writer Andy Bitter. And producing the show behind the scenes, as always, is Mr. Nick Brown. Well, the big news of the day in terms of this Monday so far is that Virginia Tech Athletics is looking to increase their budget tremendously. What does that look like, and how much are we talking here?
We're talking a significant amount.
$229 million.
Yeah, I was quoted a number over the weekend that said $47 million, which turned out to be correct for the first year, right? But then it's going to go up a little bit in each one of those subsequent years through a variety of means. The university itself is limited by state law in terms of how much it can directly pump in each year. But there's also a major fundraising part to this entire thing that they'll have to get right. But it's what I expected. You don't roll out there with a public presentation like that unless you're going to vote on it. You're going to vote yes on it, right? It's like calling something for a vote in Congress when you don't have the votes yet.
It's like a marriage proposal. You better be sure of your answer.
Exactly right. It's exactly right. So they're going to vote yes on it, and that's been the expectation the whole time. And all this stuff was rolled out publicly so that the fan base would be aware of it, know that they're on top of it, and continue to build support. It was actually a fairly substantial part of ACC broadcasting over the weekend, both during the game and like the ACC huddle. I think they had Andrea Adelson on there. All that stuff is obviously leaked by Virginia Tech, saying, "Here, talk about this because this is what we're about to do." So we've complained about communication for many years, but we're seeing some pretty good communication right now, and quite frankly, we're seeing a lot more alignment and dedication between the university and the athletic department.
Yeah, it's $229.2 million in investment that they're planning to do over the next 4 years, budget enhancement to how they're doing it. And that's broken down in different ways, sort of one-time payments that they have each year, and then operational increase that they do to the budget each year. The goal, and by the end of this, they want to have an operating expenses at $190.1 million in fiscal year 26. Now that put them up near the top of the ACC. They'd be up by Florida State, Clemson, if this whole thing goes through. And, we expect it to. There's some other questions lingering about, how the funds are going to come with this whole thing. Not the least of which is that they're allocating $30 million per year this in philanthropy and fundraising. Okay, do they have that money already? Do they have some of that money? Is that a goal that they're going to get to? Virginia Tech, in a release, described it as a targeting fundraising campaign. So that's going to be something they're going to have to drill down on to get to that number. So it's not like, the board votes on this and boom, you got the money. It's already there and they have to do it. They have to get the money in some of that. And that's, aspirational in a way, but that's also a good thing. It's better to have, I always go back. Herm Edwards used to do this like rookie symposium thing and talking about like plans and goals and wishes. And he's like, a goal without a plan is a wish. That was his phrase. I'm like, that's a great philosophy of things. Really, a goal without a plan is a wish. So they at least have a plan here. So, it is aspirational. They are trying to do this, but they're doing something to try to enhance the funding for this and, not make Virginia Tech one of the, lower funded athletic departments in the ACC.
Yeah, as far as the philanthropy stuff goes, Will and I started hearing last winter that Virginia Tech was working on what would eventually become the largest donation in athletics department history. And I'm pretty sure that's part of that $30 million a year. I don't think it's everything. I don't think it's all of the $120 million over 4 years, but I think it's going to be a substantial chunk of it because I don't think you can put that. I don't think you can put that number out there unless you're fairly confident of reaching that goal. And I don't know when that donation is exactly going to be announced. There's a lot of complicated matters, but I'm confident that they're confident that it's going to come in. Otherwise, I don't think they would have thrown those numbers out there.
Well, no, as you mentioned, I mean, the people who came up with this plan, Ryan McCarthy, Jay Pearson, I mean, one of them ran the Army for a while in the United States. The other one is a huge donor. Like, I think he knows donors. He's in those circles. I would imagine that they're not just throwing that 30.0 million number, $1 million a year philanthropy figure haphazardly. I think they have something in mind about how they're going to get that, their confidence in getting to that number. These are pretty specific numbers and increases that they're throwing out there. I don't think they do that just on a whim.
Yeah, and I mean, that takes, I think it was like 156 million was what the BOV had Virginia Tech's budget at for this year, which is a little bit of an increase from what Babcock's presentation had, about 144.
144.
Last year's was 122. So you're seeing Virginia Tech, as you said, get up there with the Clemsons and Florida States. I thought there was a quote at the very end. I included this in your story, Andy. There's a quote at the very end of the BOV presentation. It says, quote, the time is now to make a meaningful investment to our athletic program that ensures the continued positive impact that the program has on the university, the region, and the Commonwealth. And I think that kind of just sums up the presentation as a whole.
No, just breaking down the numbers here. I know Nick's got a cool graphic about this. The institutional support of the 229.2 million, institutional support 48.3 million. So that's coming from the university. 21.3 in student fee revenue. They plan a $100 increase year over year on that. Again, they're limited, by state law how much they can increase that per year. $100 a year. It's not great to sit here and go, we're going to further burden the students to fund some of this. That is still among the lowest student fees in the state. They currently have the lowest in the state. I would imagine they're still probably going to be lowest in the state, even after these increases.
Quite as low.
You look at JMU and ODU. I mean, how many thousands per year are those students paying for that kind of thing? Bridge funding, 39.6 million. I'll need somebody to explain that to me. That's obviously a financial thing that they're doing there. I would just want to hear from somebody in charge exactly what that means. Yeah. And then there's the philanthropy number, 120. So, when more than half of it is from fundraising that, sounds like it's going to happen or is in the process of happening. It still leaves a lot of questions like, okay, how do you get this number? Are you for sure hitting this number? Could it possibly be more than this number? I mean, the Hokie Club, pulled in, I think it was, what did we say, $43 million in donations last year. So now they're saying they're going to get an additional 30 on top of that. Kind of makes you go, okay, that's a lot compared to what they were drawing in before. And maybe it makes you ask, well, why weren't they pulling in that before if it's so easy to get this when you're going after it? So there's just a lot of questions still about how they're going to get this money if they're going to get to these numbers that they're putting out there.
I know they're going to restructure the Hokie Club. I mean, you have to actually have a actual fundraiser in charge of the Hokie Club, and you need to hire more employees for the Hokie Club and just invest in that. And I think that was part of the original presentation. They said an extra $2 million investment into fundraising itself. So that's hiring a qualified head of the Hokie Club and just fleshing out the staff with a bunch of highly qualified people. So they're making an investment to get more investment, basically. And another thing to point out is a number of those things in there are actually one-time investments. So like $5.5 million for a new Jumbotron.
Witt outlined all this in his presentation, his August presentation.
Exactly.
I think a total of $52 million. Yeah. And I think one of them was indoor heating on the
$8 million.
$8 million. I'm looking, and it looks like they didn't quite get to the $52 million. I wonder if they just lopped that off. They go, do we really need heat in the indoor facility? It only affects a couple days in the winter. You're running around in there anyway. Yeah. I'm curious if that's the one that they're like, well, maybe that can wait for another time.
Yeah, we'll see about that one.
It was like staff enhancements, increased recruiting budget. LED lights was one of the things on there.
Wi-Fi was $4 million.
Wi-Fi was another thing. So there are these things up front that they're trying to, not just, their investments for getting future money in that, but they're also just investments that they feel they need to make for this athletic department as a whole.
And some of these are actually, they help create donation possibilities. So what if you could get a big donor to donate $5.5 million for a new Jumbotron and you call it Cunningham Vision? right?
That'd be great.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
You go up there and you go, look at these LED lights and this Wi-Fi you got, but imagine a bigger scoreboard. Don't you
Right.
want to?
Yeah.
Don't you want to donate to that?
Exactly right.
That's
Yeah.
the sales pitch right
Exactly,
there.
yeah.
Enamor them with the LED lights. That was the key to everything. LED
course.
lights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the interesting part of it is it's not just a snap of the fingers, but it shows that they're on the right track.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, what David Teal talked about when we talked with him last week about just how does Virginia Tech roll this out, because it's going to be very intriguing just to see them kind of say, here's how we're going to do this. That's a little bit of it. Hey, 120 million is coming from fundraising. But to actually get into the numbers and where is this money coming from and how are you doing it and how are you going about asking for donations, this is kind of just the start. This is the tip of the iceberg a little bit.
And, it's important. I mean, there's a reason why, they're putting this out, the Pete Thamel and all these ESPN people to put on College Game Day. They're currently looking for a new head coach. Mm-hmm. And a GM probably, and perhaps an athletic director. We'll see how that whole. Yeah, I mean, they want to advertise to people, possibly trying to work for Virginia Tech, that this athletic department is serious about investment in this program. If you're a head football coach, you go, well, okay, what am I going to have available? And beyond your salary, how much can they pay me, which is important to a lot of guys, but how much can they pay an assistant staff? What is our recruiting budget beyond that? What are the investments in the program? You look at these numbers, I think they're very easily going to get that 20.5 revenue sharing every year, million revenue sharing. And that goes up by, I think, 4% every year. So there's a big chunk that you're going to have to continue to fund just to get the players, and then NIL on top of that and stuff. So what's the investment in the program? And if I'm a head coach out there, I go, okay, Virginia Tech's serious about this.
It just became a more attractive job.
Right.
Overnight.
Like, is UCLA doing this? They've got financial problems up the yin yang out there. I mean, it's not a great situation.
They're heavily
out there.
in debt, right?
They are.
Yeah.
And I don't think a move to the Big Ten is helping them. They're not even getting the full Big Ten share right now. So I think, when you're out there and you go, we're hiring a football coach, you have to show that you're serious about football. And this probably expands the candidate pool quite a bit by getting this out there.
Yeah, I think there's that chart from the Board of Visitor presentation that compared Virginia Tech to, from Witt's presentation, that compared Virginia Tech's football to the other football schools, as Nick pulls it up here.
Well, the other football schools and North Carolina.
And yes, but Virginia Tech, in terms of overall athletic budget, is going to be around where Clemson and Florida State are, right? Who Virginia Tech could, if it wanted to, maybe now double its head coach salary.
I think I wouldn't shock me if they were around the 8.5 million. For
Exactly.
The That's the number I've heard.
And that allows you just a giant candidate pool as opposed to going after somebody who fits the 3.5, 4.5, 5 million range, right? The better coaches are getting paid more. So you're going to be more competitive in that market. And I think it's probably pretty good timing now. There's only so many people that have job openings, right? Oklahoma State hasn't fired Mike Gundy yet. Maybe that comes. There are a couple other schools that have coaches on the hot seat. You point at Clemson?
I'm pointing at Clemson.
That's a different story.
I'm going to use that graphics as an example of just because you have money doesn't mean you're going to use it properly, right?
Correct.
Now, Dabo obviously once that money was used very properly on him, but he has not adjusted to the modern game, and he doesn't seem interested to.
Yeah.
He looked defeated to me on the field.
Did you see that quote that's out there from him in like 2015? It's like, you have to continually adapt, and as soon as you plateau, like you start to like he's talking about like
they have written.
He's talking about like the increase of program, the plateau, and then the decline. It's like
we don't plateau.
He has perfectly described Clemson's inability to adapt and its decline over the last couple of years.
The best is the standard. That's his saying, and it's plastered all over the walls in there. And he doesn't seem to be attempting to live up to those standards anymore. But they would have to pay him $60 million to go away. Oof.
But as far as that goes, like you just finished kind of week 4, week 5 of the college football season. There are only so many jobs open. So Virginia Tech, we talked about it before. You can really get ahead on who your coaching candidates, who you want. Andy talked about the general manager. And now you can go out there and, I think Pete Thamel talked about it on College Game Day and basically teased this, right? So Virginia Tech is basically throwing up a big billboard and saying, hey, look, we are serious about this. And there aren't enough big-time jobs open right now where, like, if people are looking, the only jobs you're looking at right now are like Virginia Tech and UCLA.
Right.
That's
There will
basically
be
it.
though. Florida's
There will
coming
be.
open.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I have to imagine, man, Wisconsin's a lot of money, but that is a rough situation at my alma mater.
What's
up
her
there.
buyout? What's his buyout?
It's double figures.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not chump change.
Right.
Right. You know, we mentioned Dabo. I don't think he's going to get bought.
I don't think he will this year.
He's
but
like 25 or something like that. I mean, that's everything has been reset with the Jimbo Fisher buyout. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
To quote Kevin Garnett on this stuff, you know, that those figures once were thought just astronomical and impossible. It's like you get enough movement, enough donors, you know, decide to pull, you know, their funds from the school. All of a sudden, it becomes a math problem. It's like, well, how much are we losing by keeping this guy employed? So, you know, Oklahoma State will come open. I mean, has to. I mean, he's so fired. The reason he's not fired right now is because he's the all-time winningest coach in Oklahoma State history, and has done quite a bit for that program. Florida, I just can't see him. You look at the upcoming schedule; they have like 5 or 6 ranked teams, not just ranked, like top 15 teams. I think Napier's a dead man walking there. There's going to be other jobs that might surprise us that come open. So, yeah, Virginia Tech is one of the most attractive jobs open right now, but you're not hiring somebody next week unless you're hiring, you know, some coach that's not on the market right now. It's going to be a couple months, and when that's the case, those jobs will be very competitive once stuff starts opening up.
Arkansas is another one, maybe.
Arkansas opens up.
That seems like it has Jimbo written all over it.
I mean, that would be like the Calipari hire, like, you know, hiring a coach that seems like he's kind of on the decline a little bit, but has won a national title before. Yeah, I don't know. Do you see the Arkansas AD this week? It's like, we're not in the spot to compete for national championships.
Did he say that out loud?
And like Arkansas fans are livid. It's like, well, it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, he's telling the truth. I guess you don't want to hear your AD be that truthful to you about
Sometimes,
stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes too much communication is a bad thing.
It's true.
You know, it's funny. We spent so much time last week talking about all these potential names, and I think it kind of just widens the number of names the Hokies could go after. Like, I think if you're Virginia Tech, you might be able to pursue a sitting Power 4 head coach now that isn't making as much money as you could offer them.
What is Matt Campbell making right now?
About 5, I think.
I mean,
double it.
If he would leave for more money, I think with Campbell has been like my number one choice.
Yeah,
I said that. I mean, people are like, oh, you're rooting for Pat Fitzgerald. I'm like, I just think he would make sense at a spot like this. If I was actually choosing, I would go after Matt Campbell just for what he's done with the amount of resources that he's done at Iowa State. I feel like he could have left for a bigger payday in the past. So I wonder with him if it's not all about the money.
Yeah.
I think it's not.
I don't think
he's
it is either.
demonstrated that over the years. So I don't know if you
agree.
just offer a bunch of money at somebody like that they're going to jump on board, but it could be enticing. Perhaps you make him reconsider, you know, his time there. I think he just really likes Iowa State. I think he does.
It's a much more sellable vision now than it was 4 years ago when the job was open. That's for sure.
Nick said he's making 5. And he just signed an extension in August.
Campbell, okay, making 5.
So, but he's probably the first guy I'd make tell me no, right?
Right.
That's how I would answer that question. Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. I know for certain that last week he would have told me no, and now there would be at least a chance.
I think there have been a lot of coaches last week that would have said no off the bat, and I thought Doug Bowman described it pretty accurately, sarcastically, obviously, but he was like, "Oh man," like he tweeted something like, you know, there are going to be a lot of coaches around the country that just got emails or just got phone calls from Virginia Tech, and they're like, "Oh, this is actually kind of interesting now."
Or their agent called him and was like, "Yo, did you see what Virginia Tech's doing?"
Exactly. It's like the Hokies are in the actual ball game now.
Right. And then one thing to warn people is now that all these numbers are out here, you're going to see so many rumors and articles saying so-and-so is being targeted by Virginia Tech. Maybe some of that will be true. So much of this stuff is going to be agent-driven.
Yeah.
And agents are very, very aggressive in getting their clients' names out there, whether it's true or not. I've seen this multiple times in the past. I bet at least 75% of the reports that you read will probably be false reports. But people buy into them all the time. It's clickbaity stuff and everything. But a lot of that stuff is put out there for a purpose. And sometimes it's even athletic directors leaking names out there, trying to throw them off the scent of the actual
one
targets.
athletic director we know that's pretty good at that.
I think he'd probably be pretty good at that. Yeah, he seems to be that type. So just be aware that this is going to be a strange process. And most of the stuff you read, as far as names, you can probably ignore. But at any rate, you know, it's like I've been saying for weeks that, like, I'm really happy as a fan right now because I actually see Virginia Tech about to try. And we don't know what they're capable of in the modern era because they haven't actually tried. Just like we didn't know what they were capable of in basketball until they actually tried. And then they made 5 straight NCAA tournaments, a Sweet 16, and an ACC title when they actually tried. We didn't know they were capable of doing that until they tried. We don't know what the football program's capable of doing in the modern era until they try. For all we know, this will be a colossal failure, but at least they're actually trying. At least we'll know at the end of the process.
So still a lot to be figured out, but certainly exciting in terms of the future landscape for Virginia Tech athletics. But let's talk about the present, which was a football game this past weekend between the Hokies and the Wofford Terriers, in which Virginia Tech won 38-6. And it was Philip Montgomery's first game as the interim head coach. First of all, what are your first impressions of his job on Saturday to get that win in his first game?
I thought he did a good job. I mean, I thought the operation was smooth. I thought the Hokies, it was kind of what you'd expected. It's a inferior opponent who's really, really bad offensively. I thought Wofford, the way they play defensively, sitting so far back, giving Virginia Tech all the underneath stuff. It's kind of a boring approach, but I thought Kyron Drones did a really good job of attacking, and kind of all you could ask for from an opener, under a new head coach. Good bounce back game, and I think a lot of the players, it was good for them to kind of get their feet back under them and get back on the right track.
Interesting stat. Virginia Tech's running backs combined for 13 catches in this game. That's the most combined catches by Virginia Tech running backs in a football game since at least 1985. That's as far as the stats go back on Hokie Sports. The second most was the previous week against Old Dominion. So we're seeing Drones show a little more of ability the last couple of weeks to come off that first read or second read and then check it down. Which is clearly a Montgomery influence. Now, that's more about Montgomery, the offensive coordinator, than it is Montgomery, the head coach. I think we saw signs last week that maybe things were a little bit more organized under Montgomery. And I was going to write about this in my article, but Andy, you saved me the trouble by putting it in 5 thoughts. But how he handled the situation right before halftime.
Yeah, 2-minute warning. Just to go off your thing, I think everybody's like, Drones is being a little bit too much check down Charlie on all these things. Well, it's better than turnover Tom. I'd rather him do that than throw the ball into harm's way down the field. I think you saw from Montgomery a guy who's been a head coach before. He understands, how to sort of handle the sideline. I pointed out that 2-minute drill right before halftime. They didn't have a ton of time there. It was 43 seconds. I think they started at their own 34-yard line. They had 1 timeout left, I believe, going into that. And they got a couple check down passes, got out of bounds. There was one where they got a first down with 15 seconds left, or maybe less than that. It might have been less than that.
Was it the spike?
That was with 5 seconds left, right?
It was. It might have been like 6.
I think
it was 6.
I think they ran a play after that.
Yeah, I think they did.
I think it was with like 15 or 16 to go, and they spiked.
I wrote
it and
about
ran
this.
that play.
It's all on the website. I'm trying to recall it from whatever it was. They, instead of using the timeout there, and all of a sudden you're kind of screwed. You have to get a first down, and after that to get the clock to stop and then spike it again or get out of bounds. It kind of limits what you can call play calling. They got up there, and Montgomery didn't panic and use that last timeout. He got up there and Drones spiked the ball. Okay, now the whole playbook is open to you there. You still have a timeout left. They ran a play and they got them 7 yards. They got to the 38. As it turned out, Zeke Wimbush stepped out of bounds before he caught it, so that was negated that whole thing. They ended up getting a play after that for 4 yards, close enough to give John Love a chance at a 59-yard field goal. Now, poor John Love has this field goal streak, and he has to try to extend it with a 59-yard field goal. That seems unfair. He was just a little bit short of that one, but I think going that distance in that amount of time, I don't feel like that was something that they did under the previous staff. The operation just never looked that sharp or like they knew what they were doing. And that one, it felt like, okay, when you get a first down here, go up and spike it. They all did that. They did the plan. It gave them a shot at points. They didn't get points, but it was at least encouraging.
Just more efficient. And I was actually secretly glad he missed that field goal, because you're not going to keep making 50 like long field goals one after the other. So if you're going to miss one, go ahead and get it out of your system against Wofford, because you might need that against NC State, Wake Forest, Cal, somebody like that.
I'm of the opinion the kickers want to keep making field goals.
I
don't know if you
I look at things from a law of average type of thing, though. You're going to miss one of those at some point. go ahead and miss it now against Wofford.
Yeah, I think David said if he was in an NFL stadium, he would have made that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
He's got
right.
this
Oh
thing in
my
NFL
gosh.
stadiums, like he's extra juiced up.
He made
or something
two
like that.
50-yarders at Miami last year, and in Bank of America against Minnesota. And he's like cash money when it comes to NFL stadiums.
They're more closed in. Like they were going
Yeah.
towards the north end zone there,
Yes.
right? So that you've got, it's a lot of open air,
Yeah.
coming. And not that wind had an effect or anything, I don't think, but NFL stadiums.
I don't know that there was any wind.
Right. Even there wasn't, I don't think. But even if you're in an NFL stadium that's not indoors, because everything is closed in, they all kind of have like an indoor vibe to a certain extent, and I think that makes it a little bit easier. As opposed to a college stadium like Tech's. Maybe he would have made that at like the Horseshoe or something, which has more of an NFL vibe. I don't know.
To bring it back though, they gave him a chance.
Chance.
That's all you can ask for in that point. I thought they handled that well.
Yep.
Because in a close, I think one of you guys pointed it out, in a close game, like Tech's not going to necessarily blow anybody out the rest of the way. Operations like that will matter in close games going forward, getting that right. Because if, say, Zeke Wimbush doesn't step out of bounds and you gain 10 more yards, it's a 49-yard
He
field
would've
goal.
made it.
And correct.
Right.
So
How short was it? Just it couldn't have only been
couple
about a couple
yards.
yards.
Yeah, probably
so
like
pretty
2 or
close.
3
I think
yards.
if they would have had from the original spot for after that catch, it would have been a 55-yarder.
Yeah.
Might have been good. From
Probably
55.
would have made it. Yeah. So I mean, again, all those little things add up, and who knows? You go to NC State this Saturday night, and you're in a similar spot, and you get 3 points. That could be the difference.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to go back towards the beginning of the game. What was the reaction to the first drive for Virginia Tech and going for it to try to set the tone?
I think there were actually some boos after that. I think maybe the fans didn't quite understand how overmatched Wofford was.
Yeah.
Like, listen, they're not moving the ball
Right.
in this game. It's just when they had -1 rushing yards.
Yes.
I think they were booing the result, not the decision.
Right.
What,
yeah.
the turnover on downs inside
Yeah.
the 10?
I think they're
Yeah.
like, this is sort of more of the same, but I didn't feel like that drive was. I mean, they moved the ball down the field. They just didn't, get there on 4th down and that. I like the decision. I think people just want to see a touchdown there, get results there. They probably would have booed if he kicked a field goal too, because that would have been
Everybody's in a
that would have been
booing mood.
considering
Yes.
surrendering in that spot. It was short lived, and obviously the offense got cranked up and scored some touchdowns after that, but. I think it's just sort of residual hangover from the previous 2 weeks with like, here we go again, another failed drive that doesn't end in points. It's like, be patient. You'll get some points in this game.
I was happy that they came out running. I didn't think they should have done that against Old Dominion. Drones was very efficient in the passing game, but I think coming out running helped the passing game, especially when you show success. Hawkins had a lot of success on that first drive. He was breaking off some pretty good runs. And, I think if you can show success running the football early like that, it's going to help your passing game be more efficient. And what have we always said? Like, Drones is a better quarterback when there is a threat of a running game.
Yeah, I thought you saw throughout the game, both of the passing touchdowns Kyron had. I think he was 27 of 32 for 307 and 2 touchdowns.
There are a couple drops in there too.
And there was the touchdown in the back of the end zone where he had a foot out, and then the Zeke Wimbush play where he went out of bounds first. So from an accuracy standpoint, Kyron was probably more like 30 of
32.
Yeah.
And how many? One, maybe 2 throws where the ball was put in harm's way, if that.
If that. I thought
Maybe
it was,
one towards the sideline where it's kind of like.
I thought it was his most accurate game as a Virginia Tech quarterback.
Yeah.
And you can say, it's Wofford, but accuracy is accuracy. If you set up in the pocket and you're throwing, one of his best throws was one that they actually should have ruled incomplete. It was the one
The
on
Devin Alves one on the sideline.
Yeah.
We saw that. It's like, oh yeah, he secured it, and then I saw the replay go a second farther. It's like that's clearly out and on the ground.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know what that replay crew was thinking. But
I don't think it was the A team that they said.
I don't think it was
that
either.
officiating crew, because they missed the double forward pass.
Oh, right.
It was clearly 2 forward passes, and
Right.
they reviewed it, and they were like, no, we're good.
No, that was
I
very
imagine
interesting.
Virginia Tech Wofford doesn't get the highest priority.
Probably
on
not.
the officiating list.
But the main point is that throw was a great throw. I thought that was one of
Yeah.
his best throws he's made in a Virginia Tech uniform, because he put it between. At first, when he was throwing it, I'm like, "What are you doing? Don't throw it. If you underthrow it just a little bit, that might be a pick six."
yeah.
But he put it in there perfectly, laid it in there perfectly between both those guys. So yeah, I thought that was his most accurate game as a Virginia Tech player, and you'd like to see some stuff get down the field a little bit more. Some of that is the way Wofford was playing Tech. Certainly there are going to be greater challenges in terms of getting pressure right? Because Wofford has been a good defense this year. They make a lot of tackles for loss in the running game, but they haven't been racking up a bunch of sacks or a bunch of pressure. So he had mostly a clean pocket, and you're not necessarily going to get that against better competition, particularly with Tech's offensive line. But it was a step in the right direction, and I think Drones, it was important just to get him some confidence.
Yeah.
Because football players, they always say they're confident. They could be 0-11 and play in Georgia, and they'd say, oh, yeah, we're confident. We just got to play our game, right? Well, they don't actually feel that way. That's just what they say. Because you can't go out there and say, well, I really don't think we can win this week, and I don't think I'm not confident that I can get it done. They don't say things like that. But if you come off a game where you're 27 of 32 and you're extremely efficient like that, and you really didn't make any huge mistakes or anything like that, I think you got to build that confidence level back up slowly. And you've got another chance this week because NC State's outside the top 100 in total defense.
Yeah, and I think that was clearly the intent of Montgomery, because Drones played well into the fourth quarter, longer than I thought he would, and still throwing the ball. He scored that touchdown late, pulled it on near the goal line, and really galloped into the end zone. I mean, nobody was around him on that one. I think under normal circumstances, you might get the backup in start of the fourth quarter, and maybe the third stringer in midway through the fourth quarter. Just an opportunity to play both those guys. They basically played everybody else on the team. I mean, how many true freshmen got in the game for their first action?
Oh my God, a lot.
And it had to be 9 or 10.
Probably.
They were doing that.
Yep.
So to keep your starting quarterback in that long, I felt like that was very intentional. Get him in a rhythm, get him going, get him used to this offense, and clearly look good doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I thought you didn't see Tech take many shots down the field, but both of his touchdown passes were like 18, 19, 20-yard plays, and it looked like it was man coverage.
Good timing on those plays.
Good timing routes. One to Aiden Green, the other Devin Alves,
And Alves took a shot,
right
at the
but
goal
he held
line.
on to it.
He just got hit and kind of crumpled over the goal line.
But I thought they set up everything pretty well. Run game, dumped the ball off to a lot of running backs. PJ Prelo had 7 catches, 7 receptions on his own, and so many of those catches were near or behind the line of scrimmage. He only ended up with 65 receiving yards, but he had 85 yards after the catch.
It was 1 year ago this Friday night or was it this Friday night?
No, it was October 5th.
It was the next week.
Yeah.
So we're about 2 weeks from being 1 year away from when he messed up his Achilles.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing the return that he's had.
Absolutely. I mean, most catches by a Virginia Tech running back or tailback in a game since Marcus Parker in 97, I think.
Pitt game.
And he's shifty. He can return kicks too. He had a 32-yard return. Ran the ball pretty well. The Hokies obviously didn't have Terrion Stewart, but Prelo's an interesting shifty option back there if you get the ball in his hands. He had that. It was the week before Stanford last year, before he injured himself, when he had that long run against Miami. That was a touchdown that got called back for a holding call, probably a bogus holding call.
Right.
So he's shown his ability, and I thought between him and Devin Alves, I mean, both of those guys, like Alves' first career catch goes for a touchdown.
Right.
It's like, that's pretty good, and he held on to it even though he took a shot, and then he had that one-handed catch that maybe shouldn't have been a catch, but I thought Tech did a good job. Drones did a good job of spreading it around, and you saw maybe some of these young options, or maybe somewhat inexperienced options like Alves, guys who we've heard a little bit about but haven't quite seen, and it's like, oh, okay, he goes and makes some big plays, and it's like, that's why they're getting him the ball. That's why he's playing.
We should note on all of this stuff that this happened against Wofford.
Correct. Yes.
I wrote in my 5 thoughts, this is going into last week. Bill Connolly does SP Plus, and he extends it out to include all levels. So you could be like, oh, Penn State is a 700-point favorite over this bad Division III team or whatever. Wofford was number 225.
Right.
Now, the Hokies were like 80-something. But Wofford was behind 14 Division II schools and 1 Division III school. So that tells you, it wasn't just an FCS team. It was not particularly good FCS team. So take everything we're saying here with a grain of salt. Yes, Drones looked accurate, and that's a very good thing, but it also came against a defense that didn't offer a ton of resistance out there.
I want to point out one thing before I get it, but the running back stats that I gave earlier about the most catches by all running backs in a game in Tech history, Damian Salas of Hokie Sports, who's the webmaster over there, he ran all those stats yesterday on Sunday. Hardworking dude, one of the best employees over there. They should give some of that extra $50 million to Damian because he makes our job so much easier.
Just like $1 million of the extra.
Just
50.
$1 million.
That's
Just
it.
go to Damian.
Just asking for $1 million. That's
just,
not much.
Just like one little bit. Yeah.
That'd be
Small.
very
That's a
nice.
small piece of the pie when you think about it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. We are going to break down the game a little bit more and touch on what it means going into next week. But first, a word from one of our sponsors.
Are you ready for a custom home tailored to your distinctive lifestyle? At Tyrus Homes, a leading custom home builder in the New River Valley, we pride ourselves on crafting exceptional residences that our clients love to call home. Whether you're a first-time buyer, a growing family in search for more room, an active adult seeking a relaxing retreat, or looking for a higher-end custom home that offers luxury and sophistication, we have the perfect solution for you. Discover how you can bring your dream home to life at tyrushomes.com. That's TYRIS homes.com.
Well, let's wrap up some thoughts on the offense before we touch on the defense in this game. But Chris, you kind of mentioned it, a big confidence boost for Kyron Drones. As also said, it was against Wofford. But is this closer to the Kyron Drones we could see in conference play?
So much depends on weekly matchups, right? I watched the Miami-Florida game the other night, and Miami's defense, you never know how they're going to play on a weekly basis. And I know Florida's about to fire their coach and all that, but Miami's defense looks pretty darn legit to me.
They're number 2 in the country.
Yeah.
In the polls now.
I saw, I watched the end of their game against Notre Dame, and just they were getting pressure after pressure. That's not a good matchup at all for Virginia Tech. But NC State this week, who they gave up 24 to a Wake Forest team that could only score 10 against Kennesaw State. Duke, who has struggled this year, absolutely lit them up. I look up, it's like 20-7 NC State. Then the next thing I know, Duke is just touchdown after touchdown. It didn't help that C.J. Bailey threw 3 picks, but NC State could never get off the field when they needed to get off the field in that game. And like I said, they're outside the 100, outside the top 100 in total defense. So this is matchup dependent, and that's going to be the easiest pass blocking job of the year for the Virginia Tech offensive line. I mean, they got so many young players up there. So Drones is a capable quarterback in the right situation, of course, but I don't think we're going to be in too many of those right situations this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, 1 sack allowed, which is, all right. I mean, Johnny Garrett dressed, didn't play. Lath Ganem dressed, I think, and did not play.
Did not. His snaps have gone from 12 to Old Dominion to 0 this week offensively. I think he might have been on the field.
I think special teams.
Was he?
Right, but he did not play offense.
I think he was on that one
Zero
John Love
snaps.
field goal.
I feel like it was an injury situation, though.
Maybe.
wasn't it?
I have no idea. Yeah.
Montavious Cunningham was back, but that was his first game back. I think you hope you can get healthy up front, and that gives you a better chance. If there's, again, we'll talk about guys that didn't play in this game, but it's tough to tell. Were they injured? Was some other reason with that? Because, if you're slightly nicked up against a FCS team, you don't play.
Exactly.
Just historically, that's been the case.
Well, not necessarily all the
unless
time
it was
for Tech.
Ricky Walker that one
Or
time. Then he
J.C.
gets
Coleman.
hurt. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like
Those are the
dumb
two.
decisions that
Yep.
they made where guys that were injured got further hurt, and it made the season worse. So we'll see what this offensive line looks like against real capable pass rushers coming up. And it was encouraging, but again, Wofford, kind of take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, but that NC State defense has given up a lot. I know UVA's offense looks all right, but they gave up a lot to UVA. Basically, like every single team they played, they've given up a bunch of yards.
That team's best offensive game so far.
Yeah,
basically,
that's like
remember they lost their defensive coordinator. He's the head coach at Marshall.
Tony
now.
Gibson.
Yeah, Tony
he's
Gibson.
at Marshall. Yeah, I think you wrote about that yesterday, and at the end of your Sunday thoughts.
They were struggling, and then they hired Tony Gibson, and they had like that 4-year stretch where they won 8 or 9 games every year and played really, really good defense. And now he's gone, and that appears to be gone.
Yeah, this is probably one of Tech's best opportunities left for a win.
It absolutely is.
So, and all things considered, Hokies are coming off a win, so should be going into this game with confidence, more so than had the last couple weeks.
Sure.
Let's flip it to the defensive side of the ball, where the run defense showed up for Virginia Tech. Negative rushing yards for Wofford in this game. What
Yeah.
impressed you seeing them?
Well, I mean, a willingness to play physical up front. But look, you would expect this. Wofford came into the game averaging 2.2 yards per carry, and that included a 62-yard run. right? They could not run the football. They average 192 yards per game. And we said it on the preview that I think this might be the worst offense that Virginia Tech has ever faced. So that's one you can't take too much out of. You can't take too much out of Virginia Tech's offensive performance, but you really can't take too much out of their defensive performance. What you can really say is, they got some younger players in the game. We don't know the deal with those safeties. Quentin Reddish, Koval, Christian Ellis. Yeah. Were they nicked up, or is it something, or is it one of those things where your head coach just got fired and
you're thinking about redshirting,
who knows?
And transferring.
Although I think Koval already redshirted, but anyway, good to see some the younger guys like Sheldon Robinson, Brennan Johnson, because if those safeties for Virginia Tech that didn't play, if that is a long-term thing and not just a 1 week thing, then those young guys get bumped up the depth chart automatically. So you might need at least one of them for the rest of the year. Still a lot of flux when it comes to the roster right now, which happens when you fire a head coach. So I think it was the timing of this game was really good. I'm glad this Wofford was the first game after Pry got fired.
Yeah, because you can get a lot of young guys reps. Like Jamari DeLoach had a pass breakup in the corner of the end zone.
I think he had 13 snaps, something like that.
Some of these, like Knowledge Harrell, had a tackle. A lot of guys just being able to plug in.
Kareem was over 20 snaps.
Yeah, well, and his situation's interesting because Caleb Brown didn't play. Dante Lovett's entered the portal. Right. So should we go over all the unavailables?
Yeah, let's start talking about that.
Yeah, we could. Let's see who all was out. James Jonkin was not there, to the best of our knowledge.
The other guys were there that we know.
Other guys were there. Caleb Woodson was not dressed. Quentin Reddish, Christian Ellis, Caleb Brown. Who else?
I think that might have been it.
Takai Heath was not dressed, but he's been injured.
But it was like weeks. 6 or 7 guys on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think the interesting ones to me are Woodson and Reddish.
Yes.
Those are two true juniors. Those are two top guys on the defense. Now, could Woodson have been serving a suspension from earlier in the season? Wouldn't shock me if that was the case, based on the DUI arrest earlier. I wonder if they would just put out there, hey, you're going to sit out the FCS game. It'd be kind of a bizarre way to do it, but it wouldn't be completely crazy if that was what the case was. Could be that both those guys are nicked up right now, too. Again, if you're injured a little bit, you don't want to risk anything against the FCS team, especially when you have ACC play right after that. So I sort of dislike sitting here and getting into the speculation game. What does it mean? Oh, these guys are thinking about going to the portal. I don't know if any of that's true, and I don't like putting that on single players when we don't have the entirety of the information. But the situation that Virginia Tech is in right now, with the 30-day portal window open because of the firing of the coach, the 4-game redshirt rule to consider whether a guy could recoup a year of eligibility. It's not just, if you want to transfer and go to another situation, it's saving another year of potentially earning revenue share, NIL on top of that. These are big financial decisions now for these guys. So, with a lot of guys, we will get clarity in this week. This is the 5th game. Once you play in 5 games, then you can't redshirt at that point. For some, it will extend out to the Wake Forest game, will be their 5th game of the season. So there's still some uncertainty with the roster, who's going to be here for the rest of the season, who will not be. I can't imagine there will be some exodus of players. I just don't think it will be.
I don't think it will be either.
But
you give up money.
Yeah, 1 or 2 cases there. I think there could be a situation where they go, I'm looking out for my future here. Maybe it's best for me to go redshirt, go to the portal.
And I think it's probably a mix of all of that. That's the way Montgomery made it sound in the post game. He's basically said, we got some guys working through some stuff, right? And they're unavailable. And he's not going to get into specifics about each guy, but he's a veteran head coach, and it wouldn't shock me if he told those guys, look, I understand where you're coming from. You've got a big decision ahead of you. You need to take a little bit of time and think about it because you've got 30 days. But I'm not going to play you until I know you're all in, right? I think that would be a fair response from him. So it's probably some injuries, probably some of that other stuff. I don't think it's, a coincidence that so many guys were not playing the week after Pry was let go. And so, which we'll have to give it some time. It was never going to be this thing where a dozen guys hit the portal in 2 days.
No.
Yeah.
It's interesting what Kelvin Gilliam said.
There was a second one There's a second
Yeah,
man,
well, so he,
right?
well, that too. Yes, he did. Kelvin Gilliam did say that there was a second. He said there were two guys who have portaled out.
One's
We only
Lovett,
know
of
about
course.
Dante Lovett. He's the only public one.
Well, he said there were two.
Right.
Yeah.
Does that mean
Love-
that they're both in the portal, or does that mean one is reconsidered possibly?
right.
And he said, "There's the door. Go use it if you want to."
Yeah, well, I was going to read the full quote. He said, "quote This was after prize firing."
The team was told.
Yeah, and Kelvin Gilliam said, "I opened up the door and said, you want to leave? Leave. Because whatever we do, we need guys that are bought in. Maybe that's one of our issues that we had in the last 3 games. Guys were 1 foot in, 1 foot out."
I mean, chum in the water for the fan base to hear that. I mean, Kelvin Gilliam knows what fans want to hear. He knows what writers want to hear to use as their leads. That was just, handed to us on a silver platter there. That was great. A lot of passion from him on this whole thing. And he's been a very outspoken leader for this team. Emotions are high in the immediate aftermath of something like that. So, he says 2. I wonder if, 1 obviously is in the portal right now. I wonder if the other person reconsidered. I feel like we would have heard it by now.
You would think.
If somebody goes in the portal, it becomes public knowledge, and these guys that have access to the portal are all over that kind of news. So, we'll see. Again, I think this week and then the week after that are very critical in terms of knowing who's going to be on this team.
And it's interesting that he said maybe that was part of our problem early in the season is so too many people had 1 foot out the door. If so many people had 1 foot out the door, if that's true, if that's a true statement on his part, that's probably an indicator that maybe they didn't have much confidence in Pry coming into the season. So as soon as they faced a little bit of adversity, it all fell apart.
I mean, we obviously don't know everything that goes on behind the scenes, but they had a players only meeting after the South Carolina game, and you just wonder, like, one of those things where they face adversity for the first time in that game, and then just like the group just grew more and more separated.
What was the locker room like after that game? We have no idea.
And I mean, Gilliam's obviously very outspoken and a very good leader, and I heard after the Vanderbilt game or after the Old Dominion game, one of those two, that he was very passionate and made another one of those statements. It'll be curious, how many guys when we get to Saturday, how many guys are dressed out, how many guys are going to play, how many guys are there even though they might not be playing. We get an injury report or availability report for the first time this week, so that might be somewhat helpful, assuming it's truthful.
Everyone on the team is questionable.
Yeah. That comes on Thursday, correct? The first one?
Yes, I believe it should be Thursday, 2 days before. So that'll be somewhat helpful.
Could be.
In theory.
Yeah, so lastly, how can the team use some of these emotions you mentioned, as well as just this momentum from this game going into your first ACC opponent?
Now remember, that's an injury report, though. So how's the ruling
it's an
work?
availability report.
Is it?
Yes.
An
So, like,
availability
Dante
report?
Lovett
they
should
are
be
available or not.
Okay.
So I don't even know. Dante Lovett wasn't even listed on the roster anymore.
Okay, right.
So I think like Dante Lovett, but
Eventually, he was on the Tuesday depth chart.
he was, and then he was gone before Saturday.
They had a
But
lot going on early in the week.
They were drinking from a fire hose. Yeah.
But no, I mean, if if Chris Coleman is like, yeah, I'm going to sit out this week. It's like Chris Coleman out in theory.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like upper extremity. They don't have to specify any kind of reason why they're out, just whether they're out or in.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that's all going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, and I think you got a lot to play for still. And I think that was Philip Montgomery's message, and I think a lot of the players understand that. I thought he rallied them very well. I thought you could tell they played with a lot of emotion, a lot of intensity. Even some of the young guys who got in, like I think it was Zeke Chinwiki.
He was fired up.
He
when
had
he made that tackle.
like a TFL. Brett Clatterball had a TFL. I mean, there were some of the, and granted it's Wofford, but some of these young guys who got in, you can see the emotion. And I think bottom line is, at the end of the day, a lot of these guys just want to play football.
Yeah, and I've never really liked the whole thing of like, well, we have nothing to play for anymore. Well, you're playing football.
It's supposed to be fun.
You're right. The whole reason you started playing football is because you like it, and that should always be part of it. So yeah, I agree. I mean, there's no reason to
not playing for anything more. Every player that has eligibility left is playing for a paycheck.
Well, exactly right.
I mean, if you show out the rest of this year, I mean, even if it's not a Virginia Tech, you could get a payday somewhere else.
Or like otherwise, if you tank it and then decide to hit the portal, and then other coaches are calling Tech's coaches saying, "Hey, what do you think about him?" And the coaches are like, "Well, he quit last year after Pry got fired. He basically quit working hard and didn't care anymore, and you shouldn't take him on your team at all. Then you're going to cost yourself money like that. Yeah. So there's a whole lot of things you have to take into consideration these days.
Two more things, Riley. First of all, I thought Kamari Copeland's diving interception was ridiculously impressive.
What an athlete.
This is a guy who squats how much in the weight room?
Over 700.
It's like 700, something like that.
And he's out there diving like a cornerback, making a play. And the other thing was, I thought this was probably the most complete game Tech had played. Like, again, granted, it's Wofford, but Phil Montgomery just talked about play for 4 quarters. And I think that's the first time all year that Tech has actually like gone out and played about the same level all 4 quarters.
Right.
And that's good going into an ACC game.
Tech didn't have a turnover, right? Besides a turnover on downs.
Kyron Drones fumbled.
That's right. He did fumble.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but besides that, I mean, I thought they played pretty well for all 4 quarters, no letdown. And like, that's all you can ask going into the ACC opener is that they're, as Brent Pry would say, playing complimentary football.
Well, they got the win this week, and so as we flip the page to what's coming up next, what can we see on TechSideline.com?
We got some basketball stuff coming up this week. Don't we have interviews tomorrow, or is that next week?
Yes, no, we've got basketball interviews tomorrow.
Right. So Mike Young.
You brushing up on your Greek to ask some questions?
Yeah, right. So we got Mike Young,
the entire team's going to be available.
That's right.
Yeah, Mike Young, and then a couple guys like Neoklis Abdalis and some of the other guys at the podium, and then everybody else they'll all be available in the locker room. So some good basketball stuff coming up this week. We're talking to David Teal in studio tomorrow.
That's right. He's on his way down here today, and
nice.
We'll have a Cabo Fish Taco outing tonight.
Oh, there you go.
He'll be on set tomorrow.
Yeah. So, it's
I'll
regular game week.
I'll do another coaching candidate profile on Wednesday.
You might have to expand your search now that Virginia Tech has
more
money.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So I don't know who I'm going to profile yet, but I'll decide.
How do you think that first one went with Chesney?
Good. It'll probably be slightly different for each one, depending on how much information is available. But I thought it went pretty well.
Yeah. A lot of stuff coming up on TechSideline.com.
Yeah, I'll have a regular week of coverage. Hopefully we'll get to talk to players this week. Didn't have anybody available last week. To go back to the talking about the funding early on, I'm hearing that this philanthropy thing that they have allotted on there is going to be from university philanthropy, not necessarily athletic department. Right. So it's not like, we were talking about how are they going to get this more from the Hokie Club. It's not like they're asking for $30 million more a year from the Hokie Club. I think it's going to come out of general philanthropy on this whole thing.
Right.
So
otherwise,
in a much bigger operation.
Otherwise, it wouldn't have been included in the university report. So it would be university philanthropy for sure.
Yeah. So just to sort of clarify where that.
If you now some of that could be they actually might bring the Hokie Club under university advancement.
You've been preaching. You've been banging that drum for a long time.
I think I don't know if that's not. I think if you have the proper people running the Hokie Club, it's not necessary. But
however,
in the past when they refused to staff it properly, then it should have been under university advancement, in which case they would have staffed it properly. But hopefully that's not an issue going forward.
Yeah, Andy wrote a very detailed thing on the new BOV stuff, and that's what, 9 days from now, 8 days from now? That's next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday at 9:30.
Next Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. There's a live stream.
There's a live stream. So we don't have the link yet. I think they'll send it out later.
Put it on the BOV site.
Yeah.
No public comment on it, but it will be streamed live because it's a virtual meeting, I think, for everybody.
Right. So everybody can watch the yes vote.
There's a lot of stuff going on. Go to TechSideline.com.
Yeah. This will end up being the busiest season we've ever had.
Yeah.
Fuente got fired during the season, but it wasn't until late in the season.
Yeah.
And then there wasn't this whole huge board of visitors thing going on at the same time. So right now we've got football, we got board of visitors, we've got basketball, we got coaching search, we got GM search. Who knows whatever other searches.
The last time Virginia Tech fired and got a new football coach, Virginia Tech men's basketball won the ACC tournament.
I was in Kroger the other day, and I ran into a basketball source in there, and he just looked at me and said, "We're back." So
nice.
Yeah.
So a whole lot to look forward to, that's for sure. In terms of the audio-video schedule, you mentioned it. We're going to have David Teal in studio on set tomorrow. There's going to be a press conference breakdown of what Philip Montgomery has to say on Tuesday also. The scouting report with NC State beat writers also going to be on Wednesday.
Yeah, my guy Noah Fleischman is going to be on here on Wednesday, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, there we go. How about that? Then we're going to preview the NC State game on Thursday, and then as usual, the Friday Q&A with Chris will happen as well. So make sure that you are tuned into Tech Sideline. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with a friend. Well, thank you so much for watching episode 439 of the Tech Sideline podcast. For Chris Coleman, David Cunningham, Andy Bitter, and Nick Brown behind the scenes, I'm Riley Klaus saying so long for now.